largest civil RICO case against judges and attorneys in history. Judges and attorneys. Some of the most disgustingly corrupt parasites that exist among us. Tyndall's target is the family court system of Birmingham, Alabama. Tyndall's lawsuit names 47 different defendants, including numerous judges of the Jefferson County Domestic Relations Court. The allegations in Tyndall's lawsuit include racketeering, extortion, fraud, invasion of privacy, false imprisonment, and yeah, even kidnapping. We've talked about the CPS child trafficking racket. So what's going on in this case exactly? Well, viewers of this program can take a guess. We've spent a lot of time covering the hideous corruption of our family court system, how it snatches up vulnerable children, takes them away from their families, their parents, on the slightest pretext, even made up completely false, whole cloth pretext, just to drop them in the foster care systems that molest them and abuse them and destroy them and, yes, even kill them. Well, the biggest motivation, of course, is simply financial. More kids in the system means more federal dollars. The federal government isn't the only way that a family court system can get cash. They can also simply just extract it through extortion from its clients. According to Mr. Tyndall, the Birmingham family court system has developed into what he calls the enterprise. So in essence, it's just a racket of legal collusion that intentionally drags out cases that lawyers can pocket more in legal fees from. Parents are basically forced to go along with things because they're threatened with losing their kids in family court disputes if they make too much of a fuss. It's one of the most appalling things that we've ever seen in our court system. And this is a country with pretty appalling courts sometimes. Scott Tyndall joins us now to talk more about this. Scott, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stu. I appreciate being on your show today and giving us a chance to tell this story.
Yeah, and please do, because I think that a lot of people don't really understand the full magnitude of what's happening here.
Yeah, it's really sad. What we have here are people who clearly know the difference in right and wrong and choose to do wrong. They're choosing to destroy families. They're choosing to abuse their positions, to abuse every bit of authority we give them in the hopes that they're going to protect families and children. And instead, they just exploit families and children for their own personal gain. And what started as what we thought was maybe an isolated incident has now turned into what we now know is what we call the enterprise. It's a criminal organization of attorneys, judges, medical providers, other people in the community who intentionally destroy families' lives with no concern for the children or the parents, solely in an attempt to make more money.
Give us some examples of some of the behavior here that we're seeing, because without going into clients' names, of course, I understand personal privacy, things like that, but what are kids actually being subjected to in real life?
So I'll give you an example of what happens. There's a client I'm working with right now that has not had overnight visitation with his child for over 4 years because his ex-spouse made up a domestic violence allegation against him. For 4 years, he has not had his day in court. He has not even had a hearing, and he can't get his name cleared and get overnight visitation with his daughter again until that's done. And it's strictly done to delay, to keep fees growing and growing, but also to serve their client and make their client feel like they're getting what they want. But what's really disturbing is most of these people in these custody battles don't want these fights. These fights are put on them by the attorneys themselves. They are creating the chaos. The analogy I use is these attorneys and judges are like firefighters who are arsonists. They like to act like they're putting out the fires, that they're such good people, that they're doing the right thing, but they're the ones that are lighting these bonfires in these families over and over again. I'll give you an example. We had a case that came to light just a few weeks ago where a couple was about to go through a divorce that really had no dispute at all. They just needed to work out the details. Both parties had agreed to that. And then the wife hires one of our defendants in our case, and that attorney milks the family for over $125,000 over 9 months, creating chaos for no reason, taking this man's children away from him for no reason. Once we filed our case, this family saw what was going on, realized that their attorney was one of these defendants. They fired that attorney, hired a new attorney. Within 8 hours of mediation, the divorce had been resolved and the family had been put back together as best as possible. I mean, divorces are tough situations and people are trying to do the best they can for their children. And one of the things that they taught me up there that I've learned is they use this standard called best interest of the children.
Yep.
And the running joke is, in the best interest of whose children? The children in this case or the children of the attorneys who are making all this money? And it shouldn't be that way. It doesn't have to be this way. And what I tell these clients is this is not the way the court system is supposed to work.
So many of
This is
these
not how
people
it's
that go
supposed to
through a divorce realize that they have irreconcilable differences, and they just can't do it, whether it's being unequally yoked in faith, or if it's just ideology, or if I mean toxicity, whatever it is. They go through these things, and as adults, they say, hey, we would both be happier. We would both provide a better product for our children if we were happier. We can be amicable. We can, remain friendly. We can do things in the best interest of the children in real life, make decisions together, show our children that we both love them, as much as possible, make sure that they're aware that anything that happened between the adults was not their responsibility. It was not their fault. But then, like you said, these attorneys, these bloodthirsty, money-hungry attorneys sink their hooks into these adults and then turn them against each other in these long, drawn-out battles. And then milk them, like you said, for hundreds of thousands of dollars while putting the kids through turmoil that they have created. I mean, that's basically what you're saying.
That's exactly right, Stu. I think you nailed it on the head. And what we see from some of these families is litigation fatigue. And it's just which side is going to run out of money first. And so you see families that are having the grandparents mortgage their houses, or they're doing everything they can to come up with every penny they can because they believe they need to do this to fight for their children.
And so as hard as you work to create a financial future for your kids, that's what you're doing. That's the reason why we go to work every day, is to save, to have a nest egg, to leave an inheritance, to leave investments, to leave property, to create a life that's better for our children than what we had as children. Isn't that the general idea of parenting? And then boom, in the blink of an eye, it's all gone and in the pockets of these fat cat attorneys that are just corrupt, filthy, and criminal.
You're right. I mean, the country was founded on this principle of defining your own destiny and building something greater for a legacy for your children. And that's what parents want to do. They just want to be parents. They just want to love their children. They just want to spend time with their children. And these people are coming in and creating unnecessary chaos. And to your point, pitting parents against one another. And the people it hurts the most are the children, because now the children see their parents through this ongoing custody dispute and struggle. And depending on their age, they know more than others, but these custody disputes are dragging out for so long. Even when you start with a child that's 4 or 5 years old, and now you're 7, 8, 10 years down the road, all this child has known throughout their whole childhood is trauma. And that trauma has been brought on by the court system in ways that it wasn't built for and that are completely unnecessary.
While they masquerade as being there in the best interest of the kids. It's projection.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always the best interest of the child, which is a standard that can be used in family court and sometimes is appropriate, but that's not the standard that's appropriate most of the time, and certainly not when we're dealing with custody disputes. Stu, I'll give you an example. Just in court last week, I had to stand up to one of the judge defendants in state court and tell her we were not going to accept her extortion. She was trying to extort my client in the middle of open court to get him to pay fees for a guardian ad litem with no report, with no hearing. The law requires you have a hearing before you're mandated to pay that. And this judge wanted us to pay it in open court immediately before we could start trial. Now the defense, the other side, they did. They walked over, dropped a check right off on the GAL's desk and was all proud about it. Like they were proud to bribe the GAL in open court in front of everyone. And I just said, Your Honor, we're not going to do that. Now, this judge didn't even know what the word extortion meant. She went on to read it onto the record out loud. And I think as she was reading it, she realized that what I was saying was true. And she said, well, there has to be a threat for there to be extortion. And I said, yes, Your Honor, you're threatening me with contempt, and you're going to throw me in jail if my client doesn't pay this unethical, illegal, and unconstitutional fee.
And parents are desperate to do whatever they can do to protect their children. And so, you've seen it in movie plots and screenplays. You've seen it in real life. You've seen it in our government, where I could really care less about my life. You want to threaten my life? Hey, you're going to have a hell of a fight. But if you end up taking my life, okay, I go home to heaven. But when people start threatening the loss of children, I'm going to take your child away from you. Parents will flip over backwards. They'll lay down in front of a speeding train. They'll take bullets. They'll be lit ablaze. They'll drown. They'll be beaten to death. Whatever it is, in order to protect their children and their relationship with their children, to keep their children safe, to keep their children with them, they will do anything. So it's really easy to extort, say, your client, for example, by just hinting at the threat of the loss of their children.
You're exactly right. And I can't tell you how many parents that I've met with, and especially a lot of men who just feel like they've been emasculated by this system. They feel like they were strong, tough men who get caught up in this and they have no way out. They cannot figure out how to navigate the system, and they can't figure out why they know they're a good dad, and they don't understand why they're being treated that way and why they become the target and the victim. And it's because we have specific ringleaders of this enterprise, very bad people who, I do use the word evil, but evil exists. And some of these people are evil and they're coordinating it. We believe they are even coordinating outcomes of cases before they ever get to trial. Now, we filed a 186-page complaint and we can prove every single word in that complaint. I wanted to write a 400-page complaint because I know how much else is going on, but we just don't have the proof of it yet. But all 186 pages of that complaint, we have bulletproof evidence. We have hard paper. We have data on all of these. And we're going to hold these people accountable.
So if your RICO case, or I should say when your RICO case is successful, what kind of a precedent will that set for the rest of the country? Will it rattle the boots and shake the cages of, the racket that's going on in every single county, in every jurisdiction, in every state in our union?
I hope so. I hope it inspires people to come forward. People know that these rackets are happening. People have known about this one in Birmingham. They've known this was going on, but they didn't have anyone that would stand up for them. So we like to think of ourselves, my clients in this case we filed, as really the tip of the spear. And we're just trying to provide top cover for other people to come forward. And, Stu, I've met dozens of families who have stories that are almost exactly like my clients. And so I would say to those people who are going through situations like this, reach out to someone, find an attorney in your jurisdiction that is willing to go help you fight. Because once these bad actors are brought to light, then they're not able to do the same things they were before when they thought they were untouched and they thought they had unilateral power to do what they want.
That's right.
But what we're finding is by bringing attention to that, then they have to start minding their manners a lot more, and they've got to start playing by the rules.
The biggest enemy to the darkness is the light. The biggest enemy of the empire of lies is the truth. The biggest enemy, the biggest enemy of corruption is justice. And so that we hope that you see it. I've got about 30 seconds left here. Final words.
Yeah, I was just going to say, tagging on to that conversation about the judge, after I accused her of extortion, she called a 10-minute recess. When we came back, she never brought it up again. Every clean judge in America will throw you in court. Will throw you in jail and keep you there for accusing them of extortion. And this judge chose not to. And I think that speaks volumes about what's going on in this case and what's going on all around the country.
Yeah. Don't be extorted. Don't allow yourself to be. Come forward. And if you work for one of these corrupt judges or one of these corrupt attorneys, come forward, expose them, be the hero that these children need in their lives. Just like Scott Tyndall, setting a precedent there for what it looks like to be a real morally upright person. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here today.